Alright, for the recording, this is round 6 of Fight Night 2. We have Voxy versus Dylan. So Marco and Dylan on table 1, both with a 4-1 record at the moment. Alright, so Dylan is on the Mardu Lurrus deck. Voxy is getting Inquisitioned and has a Ledger Shredder, an Underground Sea of Witherbloom, Baleful Strix, Inquisition, Breeding Pool. Oh, this is Marco's Sultai pile. Hell yeah. We have Mardu Lurrus versus a Sultai pile. This is probably going to be a banger of a match. Buckle in, team. We're firing off with an Inquisition back. Sees some lands and some spells, a Stalactite Stalker and an Inti. Dracos asks what are the prizes. So this week we're doing a much flatter prize structure. So first is getting 55, second's getting 45. Both of those with an extra $10 of POG store credit. Third and fourth, 35, fifth to eighth, 25, and ninth is getting $20 of POG store credit. I'll also be buying the POG store credit if you guys can't use it or you don't want it. It's just what the sponsor has offered me to work with. Alright, so the Inquisition got taken. Stalactite Stalker is a 2-2 with Menace. We know that Marco has a Shredder and like a Witherbloom command. And some other stuff. Probably just Shredder go. Unless you draw a Bauble or a Probe. Shredder go, sure. Another Surveil. Surveils can grow the Stalactite Stalker, but it looks like it missed. Or it wants to keep it on top. Edict clears the Shredder. We can start our chip damage to a turn till the end of time, baby. And by that I mean Stalactite Stalker will die at some point. This should be an interesting matchup. On paper, Sultai would have enough longevity to beat through a companion. But it's Lurrus as the companion, and a lot of the Mardu stuff that you'd play in Lurrus gives you random longevity. Things like Netherghost, things like Inti. Welcome back, Rutherford. I'm not entirely certain why Sam timed you out. There was a bit of typing that Sam did, but I was too busy doing admin. Welcome back. He didn't like a perceived pun. Buying Lurrus, attacking for 2. So a little bit anemic here. Dylan's not really doing anything too powerful. Which means Marco probably has a turn or two to do something cool. However, if he can't answer the Lurrus, he's just gonna die to its value. Voxy firing off a Brainstorm. Is that right? Are we in draw step? Why would you do it in draw step? I guess that's no different. Truly an abuse of power, I think. Okay, you two... you two are just being nonsense. Alright, back to the match. I'm just going to focus on this. So we get in a big attack with the Nethergoth, and we follow up with a Leovold. Leovold does not stop Inti, so there's nothing really to stop Dylan slamming a 5th land, playing Lurrus, playing Inti, and cracking him for 3, other than the amount of damage that he'll probably take on the crackback. It's an interesting spot. I mean, like, Lurrus Inti is fine. I guess you can start finding blocks with Lurrus and just hope that she sticks. If you discard here, you can only really cast a Bauble. Got rid of a land. I mean, getting damage in is relevant. Marco currently doesn't actually have any source of life gain. So he could feasibly just die to random idiot creatures. I think it's going to be an interesting race. Upkeep Worldly Tutor is getting Fanatic, surely. Yeah, it is Metamorphosis Fanatic. This is probably reanimating Shredder or Strix. Gives you a bunch of lifelinking stats. Shredder, yeah, Strix makes sense. Look at this Strix, look how many keywords it has. Flying, Death Touch, Lifelink, sheesh. And then you can crack in. Probably not dead on the crackback, but you don't have lethal. This might be a little bit much. Because I think I'm probably dead to some removal spells here. And with Inti, it's possible to hit double removal spell. In which case you're just dead. I mean, the Leovold is there to draw cards if they have removal spells. Might find cheap interaction or free interaction. Well, let's see what happens here. Bin Surveillance. I mean, this is a lot of damage. It's gonna be some weird-ish blocks. Hits a lightning bolt? Okay. But not bolting pre-blocks. Because we want to use it after. That's fair. I mean, we can trade down on boards. It is an interesting spot for both players. There's like a lot of random crap on the board. And I think Marco has a bit of an edge, but it's not by much. I think we're just going to let all of this ride. So both players at 10 now. We have a bolt that we have to cast this turn if we want it. Surveillance to get back Lurrus and like a mountain. So we can cast the bolt wherever it goes. Leovold will trigger, so we probably just have to bolt Leovold. This is fine. This might get dazed, might get spell pierced. But you've managed to gain the life through attacking with Lurrus to not be too dead to this Nethergoth. There's so much stuff in play. I think, depending on Marco's hand, Dylan might pull ahead this turn cycle. It's going to be close. Ponder could be big, could be nothing. If it's a shuffle, it's real bad. It's a shuffle. Okay. Correction, there are 15 things in play. Shuffle with Ponder, so Marco has 2-ish random cards out of 3 total. I don't know if you can attack, but I don't know if you can afford not to attack. I think you must have drawn something. I don't know what though. Fetch turns on push. Might just die to Stalactite Stalker here. Unearth Leovold. Sure? I don't know if that does anything. I guess it maybe lets you block. Or at least draws you cards. Post-combat Leovold was called. Dash Ragavan. Well, if we're dashing, we're going like all in. Where's this Inti counter going? Lurrus? Targeting herself? Okay. No, it is targeting Lurrus, sure. 4-3 trample, lifelink to get out of Nethergrowth range. Hit some Molten Collapse with Inti. Which is a sorcery. This is why you play Terminate, kids. Hey, Graham. Puts a Leovold in play, which gives you the moral victory. I don't know if there's such a thing as a moral victory in an F&M. I think you might be overthinking it. I mean, it might give an actual victory. I'm assuming this is like Mystic Sanctuary plus Cantrip. No. Okay. Thanks for joining us, Graham. Love the insight, bud. So in this spot, I mean, you don't have terrible blocks. You don't have good blocks. Like, this Stalactite Stalk is just going to keep eating you alive. You don't really want the Ragavan to hit you. You don't really want to leave the Lurrus alive. You can't really afford to double block here. If you block Lurrus' Strix, you take a bunch of trample damage. Block the Inti, you stop the trample damage. I think this block might leave you dead. I think Marco just put himself to 0. I'm pretty sure. 5, 6, 7, 10, 9. Yep. Pretty sure. Alright. Alright, Dylan wins game 1. That was largely off the back of Lurrus and Stalactite Stalker. I mean, Marco definitely took a bunch of game actions, but Stalactite Stalker had menace and kind of kept getting bigger. And then there were a bunch of weird life swing turns, where like there was a Metamorphosis Fanatic, and a Lurrus that got to crack in, and then came back. That was a weird game. That was a really weird game. I won't expect too much out of each player's sideboards. Dylan's going to bring in some Rebs, presumably, maybe a bit of Graveyard Hate, but probably not overdo it. Maybe an extra threat or two that's a bit stickier. Marco's probably going to do kind of the same. He'll bring in some Blue Blasts. Might shave on some stuff. I don't even know what, to be honest. Hey, Vance, how's it going? Welcome, welcome. I should catch up on chat. Okay. Bunch of people just catching up. Can you imagine Leovold in the Nardu era of design? I mean, Leovold is the Nardu of its time, I guess. Alright, game 2. So, this is round 6 of Fight Night, and we have Marco on Sultai versus Dylan on a Mardu Lurrus deck. Looks like Dylan's keeping 7 and Marco's going to 6 this time. Have a look. I feel like this is probably going to go the distance. There's a lot of resources that are going to get traded pretty aggressively. Both cards and board states and life totals. Both players appear to be willing to scrap, so we'll see how it plays out. I think long run Lurrus probably beats something like Uro, and I imagine if you're playing a Sultai mid-range pile, this deck probably has Uro in it. Yeah, I think in a long-term sense, Lurrus probably beats Uro, just on card quality, on average. Why is my green screen so messed up? I need to slide over this way. Is that right? That did not help at all. It's fine. So we've got a Strix challenging a Darcy here. Strix is getting bolted. It's not... I don't know how often you actually should be bolting Strixes. It's not never, but I think it's not as often as people do it. I mean, in this case, Darcy is a pretty premium thing to be trying to hit them with. But at the same time, like, you kind of have to trade something with the Strix. You need to cap your vid capture on each side and move your overlay to be more central. I like the way it is now. It's kind of like I'm coming in from the side. Also, sometimes I use this space. Mostly in YouTube videos. Are we draw step metamorphosing? No shot. Just a bait? Hell yeah. Yeah, Darcy. Dragon's Rage Channeler is Darcy. That's her name. You're welcome. So no third land here for Marco, which is a big deal. Ledger Shredder is challenging Darcy, but I'm assuming that Dylan has some kind of removal spell because he surveilled on top. It's probably just the other Reb. You see me call that? Should get a DRC ult to be a Pride and Prejudice character. That sounds absolutely incredible. I should do that. Alright, so Darcy's pecking in for 1 here. Dylan did find Caracas, though. So that's going to turn off things like Tameo, Uro, Sheldred. It's not going to hit Nethergoyf, Barragoyf, Psychic Frog. Marco missing third land again. Probably has a decent amount of cheap interaction. I mean, we know he has gas, obviously. But working out how much gas and how cheap it all is, and what kind of card velocity he can pull together. Days on Ragavan. Well, now Marco has 1 land in play, but he's only getting chipped in for 1, and Dylan has 2 cards now. and a Lurrus that is unbought. I'm spectating Juzza versus Tom. He just used Initiative Forge to buff his walking ballista. That's fucking gas. What's Mr. Darcy's flavor text? I'm going to let someone who's read that book in the last 10 years answer that question. Counter Bone Man! The Bone Man! So Emperor of Bones is going to keep this Darcy in check. It's also going to keep Lurrus in check. So there is a decent chance that because Dylan has fired off 2 Rebs and a Bolt, it's possible he just hasn't found another removal spell. He might have. He might just have a push or a Molten Collapse or a Priz Ending or something. But if he doesn't, this Bone Man could just, like, eat everything. It's an Edict, alright. Well, we'll see if this is met with a Force. No mana up, so no Spell Snare available. It's going to have to be Force blue card. Darcy still not online. Has connected like 4 times. All for 1 damage. This is crazy. Into Stalker, which is not descending. Alright. It's 2 1/1s versus a bunch of nothing. This is Magic the way Garfield intended. Bayou is a huge draw. So not only has Marco hit 3 mana, he's also hit green mana. So I'd fully expect to see some amount of good cards. Oh, he's picking up another land and killing a Stalactite Stalker. Milled, Leovold. What did he mill? Mill, Leovold, Ponder, Marsh Flats, okay. I don't know why I read chat. You guys are having an entirely different conversation. Alright, Darcy gets in for 1 again. Marco is going for Worldly Tutor Metamorphosis Fanatic again. It is interesting that Dylan did not buy Lurrus. And I think that's primarily because Marco is shown discard spells, and he doesn't want Lurrus to get discarded, because that would be a huge deal. But it's also possible he has something else. Wait, this doesn't stop the Metamorphosis Fanatic, right? It just stops the Leovold, I think, yeah? So now it's just a 4/4 lifelinker? Sure. I mean, it stops the Leovold coming into play. Alright, so Marco's down to 2 cards, and Dylan, I mean, that's obviously why he didn't buy Lurrus that turn, because of Containment Priest, but again, the fact that putting Lurrus in hand and not being able to put it on the stack could get it Thought Seized is a very real concern. 4/4 lifelinker for 2 still decent. It was for 3, because he had to cast the Worldly Tutor. And he ate at draw step. So there's a 3 mana 4/4 lifelinker, discard a card. Could be worse. Underground Mortuary Surveil. And Dylan did buy Lurrus. Now, notably, Lurrus and Containment Priest have no interaction with each other whatsoever. So we'll see what actually starts happening now. I mean, it looks like both players have found a bunch of air and have reached a game state where not much is happening. Although that's a big deal. Fatal Push. That's pretty good. Could be playing Curd Apes. That's very... We've seen a lot of Curd Apes on stream today, actually. People making 2-3 Netherglyphs on turn 1. It's been, like, pretty popular. Can we point cards until my deck is good again? Should only be 60 or 70 cards. I think you might be undershooting that by about 500. I don't want to be too mean, but that's about right. Also, thanks for the follow, Lance. I know I just roasted you, but it means a lot, Lance. Alright, 3 chip damage, baby. Let's go. At some point, we can play the Lurrus with the Caracas up. It is not anytime soon. Well, if we want to play a thing as well. I'm assuming Marco is boarded into like a deluge. Or maybe like an actual factual damnation. It's possible this Caracas is keeping some legendaries in check. Like, I wouldn't be surprised if Marco has a Shieldred in the deck. I think even as low as 20 or 30 would make my deck good. Not like great, but good. Yeah, that's a lot of cards. The issue with pointing cards to get your deck to be good is that some of the cards we'd be pointing should be in your deck. Like Fable of the Mirror Breaker. So you reach a point where you're just not playing good cards anymore. We discarded a FOMO to Inti, which jumped our Darcy. So this has gone from 3 damage to 6 damage. But it's getting blue blasted, sure. We get our 2 damage in. Dylan's last card is Lurrus, which he probably plays this turn and tries to get a 1-drop off. Would make sense. If this gets countered, it's like not great, but also what else can you do? Does not get countered, and we do get to play a 1-drop. Hell yeah. Alright, so we have Caracas to protect Lurrus now. We have Containment Priest to stop reanimation. I think Marco's probably pretty dead, unless he finds a Wrath. Baragoth will not. I mean, it doesn't. It's not bad. I just don't know if it's good enough. Because you get cracked in for 4. Inti's ripping through cards. Lurrus is going to cast another spell. This is pretty bad. Discard Backstreets, sure. I mean, if this finds a removal spell for Baragoth, it's GG for sure. Probe is not a removal spell. Okay. Do you even cast the probe? You have to. Get an 8. Get a Surveil. Try to find... What removal spells are left? Like a Molten Collapse, probably, for this Baragoth. Reveals 2 cards. Right, so Marco has a Dismember and a Tameo. Surprised he didn't fire off the Dismember on the Lurrus at some point. Oh wait, no, the Caracas was up. Yeah, of course. And then Tameo's been checked by Caracas. This is pretty bad. I think Marco is DOB. Because you can crack in. Oh, actually, you do still get the life. Even if you are getting blocked every turn by Lurrus plus a thing. I don't know about going for this. I guess it stops the lifelink, so even if they dismember Lurrus, they're still dead. Yeah, no, this makes sense. Right, so if you dismember Lurrus, still die. Oh, you don't die, you get a 2. Is there more? Cling to Dust. What is this targeting? Worldly Tutor. Okay, so we're trying to find some amount of lethal damage, I guess. But that means you keep the NT. You have 9 damage on board. Barograph doesn't trigger, doesn't gain life. And then next turn you're in the same spot. You can play Tamio to block, but anything that could kill you here probably costs less than Caracas, like 4 mana. So now Dylan is looking for 1 damage for 2 mana, or 2 damage for 4 mana. And if you can find either of those, it's GG. And if he doesn't find either of those, but can find an answer for Baragov, which could just be Inti block bounce again. It's possible Baragov bails Marco out of this. I think it's very unlikely. But it is definitely possible. It's like just big enough to help with the racing. Another Growth doesn't do it. And NT, yep. So we have to attack with Darcy. Gives us 5. If we crack him with everything, we get 9. Block back up to 6. So if this whiffs on damage, because Dylan needs to find 1 damage. He needs to find like a bolt. Didn't discard, so card in hand matters. Is it just a bolt? Okay. So now if Marco has bash, cracks, and actually gets to gain the life, and then has like damnation or toxic deluge, this game's winnable? Nope. Alright, GG's. And that is round 6 of Fight Night. Dylan beats Marco 2-0. GG's.